All right, guys, welcome back to Four for the Road. Excuse the spelling errors on that intro video. I literally used AI to make it about
Profiton?
15 seconds ago. Yeah, Profiton and Tridadin.
Ooh.
We'll get that fixed for next time. But yeah, if anybody's here watching us, I'm glad you guys are joining us. It has been well over a year since we've done any kind of like podcast type content, and we figured it's long overdue. And the easiest way to get it done is for us to do some type of live stream. I think the editing process was getting the better of us. So here we are. Obviously, you guys may have remembered me as No Shame. Currently, just going by D, short for Derrick. And then we got Drifter. Drifter, you want to say hello?
Hello, everybody. And we're going live. That's tricky business.
I think we've done it one other time in the past, and it was probably our highest engagement season of Four for the Road. But I think I speak for the group. Probably not our proudest of moments. That whole interaction was kind of a shit show.
Yeah, it was. But going live, man, we're walking on a tightrope. We got to be careful.
I don't know, no spilling secrets right here, right?
Yeah.
Easy for me. I'm no longer in a club. I'm just enjoying life as a free man and doing the whole thing. What about you, Drifter?
Man, I just stick to my own business.
Yeah.
If I hear something, gossip goes to me to die.
That's how it should be, right?
Say again?
I said that's how it should be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a couple other guys that may or may not be joining us. I know the caption under the video says that Dave's going to be here. He thought we were joking. This is not a lie. So he was not at home when the invites went out to join the stream, but we'll get him on in a future episode. So if you were looking forward to us talking about Love is Blind, that's not going to happen. The only people that watch Love is Blind on the page.
Hey, wait. That's why I'm here.
Oh, you want to talk? We can talk. This season was a doozy.
Actually, I don't know anything about it.
You're missing out. It's prime time television. A lot to do with motorcycle culture.
I'm not sure if I believe you.
So on the agenda, we had just kind of going over general updates, talking about what you've been up to for the last year, anything that's changed. I know for you, Drifter, you consistently write on the page where I am not so disciplined or talented. So some people may or may not have been able to kind of keep up with you over the past year, but for those that have only joined us on the podcast and we've been kind of radio silent for a while, what's been going on in your life?
Oh, it's club stuff. If I'm not doing family stuff, I'm doing club stuff. It takes up all my time, as it should be. That's my choice. I've made it happen that way. As far as Four for the Road, I do try to write something at least once a day because it's done so much. I'm sure you have the same experience. Four for the Road has opened up doors and introduced me to people literally all over the world. I got to ride a motorcycle in Iceland from a guy I'd never met before, but he opened up his clubhouse. His brothers gave me a bike to ride, and we rode all over Iceland like, crazed Vikings or something. And Four for the Road made that happen. I got friends in England and Australia, all over the world because of this.
Yeah, man, I think it has definitely paid us back. We don't. I think I'm not gonna lie to anybody. I think our Facebook is monetized, and we may be pulling like $120 a month. And I pay taxes on that, so it's a little bit counterproductive for me. But with that money goes back into paying for all the subscriptions that we've maintained to do all the video and podcasting stuff that we haven't been using. So start putting that money to good use, like we're doing now. But yeah, man, the page has been really a blessing, I think, for a lot of people. It's the friendships, like legitimate friendships that I've made just from interacting on this page and the experiences that we've gotten to do individually. I know we don't document it as much as we probably could. We probably put together quite a piece of well-produced documentary film if we took video of all the stuff but just the interactions and the exposure that it's given me to be able to see into other aspects of this life has been great.
There's
Um,
another aspect I really like about it is that you know, biker culture is really a closed culture.
mhm.
We don't even talk to each other very much about some things, but this is an open forum, and our inbox is completely confidential. We get guys coming in the inbox all the time saying, hey, I'm having this problem or this happened, what do you think I should do, what would you have done, and that sort of thing. And they know that they can do that completely honest in what they say, and knowing that it'll never leave the inbox. I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've always had taken like a stern policy on that. Like, we're not going to out anybody for what they say. And I don't think it was anything we ever actually had to like enforce. Like, there's been some people that come in there with some pretty crazy stuff, and we give advice when it's warranted. We give rebukes when it's warranted,
Yeah.
but it stays there. And good. It's one of the things when I was actively participating in the club life is that helped me to see that some of the problems that we dealt with internally were very minor in comparison to some of the things that other folks deal with. That's and we're a lot more similar, as far as like different clubs go in the problems that we do deal with. Sometimes I think it's very easy to look at what another club's public persona is and have that the grass is greener kind of mentality. But when you kind of peek behind the curtain and you kind of see like, yeah, everybody's dealing with the same kind of shit.
Absolutely, man. Um, I know several people very well that thought the grass was greener in another spot just because of an online presence. And they got over there and realized, nope, not the case at all. Don't believe the hype.
Yeah. Now that's I mean that's something we've hit on quite a number of times is that whole club hopping thing. People just always trying to find the next best thing. I know for me it was always I think if I can't make it work in the club that I'm in, I'm just done with clubs. I
Yeah,
know that's not for everybody, and there are people that move to different clubs for different reasons, and it's a righteous endeavor. But I think we are kind of still living through that plague of that club hopping kind of mentality.
yeah. I sometimes wonder, and I think back because I always try to put things in a historical context, but it's not really anything new. It's just now it's looked down upon a lot more. Back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, guys would belong to two clubs at one time.
Mhm.
Now that would, you just don't do that. But it happened. So for right or wrong, I think it's just now that we look at it much more in a bad light, and I kind of agree with it. If you can't make shit work in your own family, don't start a new family.
Yeah. How much of that the historical, if you want to call it club hopping or belonging to multiple clubs, do you think it was that in those days a lot of clubs were centered around things like racing? So it was like, and for some people it was like I belong to a racing club and then I belong to a riding club. And then those two different things aren't operating in the same world. One's out here and it's more of a team, right? It's like if I played on an intramural basketball team and then I just wanted to, go to a different one over here
Oh,
versus now
absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
like the culture and what surrounds clubs. Not that it couldn't be that still, but I think this is just my opinion, is it seems like everybody's kind of chasing this image of what it means to be in a club, right? So they model their activity, the right and wrong, and do all of that based on what they think they're supposed to be doing and the stuff that they the secrecy that's built around it. It's like, and honestly, for some of these clubs, it's like you don't have to keep it a secret that you guys met up at your clubhouse and drank all night.
Yeah.
Like you're not doing anything crazy, right?
Uh, yeah, it's the media, man. Starting really in the 50s, and Dave and I always have this argument, but I think one of the touch points of that was whenever the Wild One came out, the movie, it set up the image of a biker as a rebel and antisocial, and then by the 60s, man, that has just gone overboard. So you get guys that kind of like bikes, and they never thought about club, but they're kind of a rebellish kind of guy. So they think, oh, well, then that's where I belong. And so they go and they join a club, and that perpetuates that stereotype even more. And then guys that have nothing to do with motorcycles, they see that and, oh, ooh, that's who I want to be. So to get a bike and go join a club to be even more outlandish, rebellish, kind of whatever. And the media just started this spiral, so that's where we are now, man. People think, oh, I got to be this big tough guy and I got to walk around with a chip on my shoulder. Man, that's not MCs. MCs are family. From 1%er on down, they're families first. They just love motorcycles.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And having been in as long as I was, and gotten the exposure, through this page and just through, general club activity, that's one of the hard things for me now, not being involved in a club, and just kind of going around, and then you see people in varying different clubs, different environments and whatnot, and they see you out there, and it's like you almost get this where people kind of look at you like you're less than because you're going out without a patch on and stuff. It's like, man, if you only knew the things that I've gone through in that life, right? And the different levels to what things are and stuff like that. And so I don't walk around, even when I was still in with like an air of entitlement. I never felt like I was better than somebody because of the club that I was in or because I was in a club in general. But you do see that sometimes. And not to sound like arrogant or full of myself or anything, but sometimes you see it from clubs that really don't warrant that kind of swagger, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a turnoff to me now. So nowadays I'm more thinking about like, man, I should get like an enduro bike and just go like ride dirt roads and stuff like that. I think I would have a lot more fun doing that.
So what do you miss most about club life?
Honestly, like I do miss riding in a pack. Even though when I was in a club, I hated it. Um,
Really?
yeah, yeah. I enjoyed it to a sense, but I didn't like doing it with people that were outside of my chapter or that I hadn't like ridden a lot with before.
Yeah.
Because I think to do it right takes a lot of discipline and practice and coordination, right? So, um, but even if we had like when I was in a club, I feel like I really wanted to get out on my own because it was almost like you can't different seasons of that journey. It's like you didn't want people riding long distance by themselves for whatever reasons. Um, so I always tried to find reasons to go on a solo ride and just be on my own by myself. Um, but now there's like a piece of it where I do miss having that that pack ride. There was something fun about it that I do long for. But I think that's probably the only thing that I miss about it. To be honest, I think the other stuff that I got from it, I've found elsewhere. Since leaving the club and everything, I've gotten like heavily involved in the church. So there's a lot of that camaraderie and stuff there, and active in like different forms of ministry, things like that. So that
Yeah. Weren't you doing a
community
prison?
still had.
Sorry to
What's that?
interrupt. Weren't you doing a prison ministry at one time?
Yeah, I still do. I do ministry at some of the local jails around here, like different county jails. Um,
Right on.
yeah, and that was kind of like my calling to kind of give back. It's like I can relate to some of these folks, and hopefully my experience can be kind of like a beacon of light that there is there's another side to life, right? Like you can be involved in these things and make a change and come to something else. We do have Chop, who has just gone. He wasn't
Chopper.
here today, but we were going to add him anyways because we just love having more people on. Chop, what's going on, man? You look like we're doing like one of those interviews on Ganglands.
Oh, no sound.
Can you hear us, buddy?
I see Four for the Road is still at it, man. This is it.
Change his mic. No. He's figuring it out.
Get a haircut there, hippie.
Well, we'll continue the conversation. We'll let Chop chime in when he figures out his microphone situation.
Wow. Yeah, it's good to know Four for the Road will never change, man. We'll have difficulties in sound and video every time.
I'll pull a comment up here from Pac-Man, who's been on the podcast before.
Oh yeah, great guy.
My club said a lot of these guys think you have to be in a club, especially in the more big and rural areas. You cannot be in a club and still get respect based on just being a stand-up guy. And yeah, that's kind of that's the mentality you run into from time to time. And it's kind of a shame too, right? You think like for the club, you would want to have more honest interactions with folks, right? Like, you know, we're not supposed to be out there like actively recruiting. That's kind of like seen as a bad thing. Like, how else are you going to find stand-up members if you're not just out there, you know, treating people like they're people, you know, showing a general level of respect to everybody. I think that a lot of what this culture in and out of club, right, is based on that, you know, mutual respect until there's a reason not to be respectful. I think if you walk around with that mentality of like somebody owes me something before I give it to them, it's really counterintuitive and counterproductive to what this whole community is supposed to be based on.
If you walk around acting a certain way, good or bad, your reputation will precede you, and people around you will hear about it. They'll know about it, and you know, I think another thing that plays into effect here is that there's also a tribal mentality. We in clubs, we're tribal. We sure are, man. So we see somebody not in a tribe, it's like, well, what's wrong with them? So I think a little bit of that plays into it. We kind of got to get over ourselves. Are you with us, Chop?
Chop, there's a little thing that looks like a gear in the bottom right, like right underneath the screen. Click on that and mess with your mic and speaker settings. If you can even hear me.
I don't know, man.
Man, I think the only other thing that I miss from the club, my old club, is just some of the people. Not everybody, but there are definitely I did make a lot of good relationships, and you know, some of the folks in the comments here too is, you know, they're people that you know, you build a lifelong bond with, even if you know, you don't talk as often as you used to. There's definitely people from that old life that, you know, I would still drop everything at the, you know, at a moment's notice and help them out if they needed it. But yeah, I think what you could find in a club, you could find in other areas as well. Yeah, I think I've done that. Chop, are you with us? I hear noise now.
Can you hear me now?
Yep,
Yeah.
we got you.
Sweet. All right, cool.
Great success, man.
My bad. All right, this is all rigged up. I'm using Bluetooth headphones because apparently my computer mic's a piece of shit. So,
dude, you're out there
adapt
saving
and overcome.
basis. You're not supposed to be good at tech.
I ain't good at much, and this short shit ain't something I'm good at. But here we are.
So what you been up to, Chop?
Man, bought a house, closed on it the other day. So, you know, I don't know if I'm living the American dream or just walked into a nightmare. We'll find out in due time, I guess.
It'll be both.
Other than that, just kind of riding motorcycles, trying to be a good dad and find the balance / juggle between probating and family life and, you know, work life and all that. And it's been a challenge to say the least, but so far it's had its ups and downs, but I ain't dead yet. I'm still being a good dad and I'm still probating, depending on who you ask, whether or not I'm doing a good job, but I'm still there. So
yeah, so that is kind of an interesting thing that takes us, I think, into like our next topic is one of the things we're going to talk about is different ways to participate in the motorcycle community as a whole. And it's kind of good. We've got people from three different aspects of that right now, right? We've got somebody who's actively participating in a club, who's been in it for a long time. We've got myself, who's former club member, who is now, just on his own. And then we got somebody who has had club experience and is now probating, took some time off and now is probating at a new club. So what are some different, avenues that you think, like obviously when you're in a club, there's ways you can participate, but it's, there's all sorts of different ways that you interact with the community. What are you guys' thoughts on some of the different ways that people interact within the community?
Well, I mean, that all kind of depends on what club you're talking about too. Because obviously you've got your organizations that aren't clubs, but the public doesn't really know a difference with that. They see a patch on the back, they think it's a club. Like look at what is that? Baca, isn't that it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you got like Baca, and you look at their mission and what they do, but then you've also got like your typical 3-piece or 2-piece clubs and whatnot. When it comes to, and it also depends, are you looking at the community as a whole, your everyday citizens that are out and about riding motorcycles, or are you looking at the MC community? Because that's going to differ too. There are some clubs out there that have no desire to interact with anybody outside of their own patch. You've got some that only choose to interact with other specific clubs, and you've got some that want to be a part of all of it and want to be involved in the local MC set, the local MC community, which in my opinion is the best way to be. I understand it comes as a double-edged sword, but that's how you assist in keeping the tradition and the history alive with it all. If you kind of set back and only deal with your own, you cut out a lot of the noise from the other clubs, but you don't keep the history of the whole thing alive, the tradition of the whole thing alive. You just keep yours alive. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want to do, that's you, do you. But I guess shit. I don't know, man. I can go down a rabbit hole on this, man.
I want to remind you too, Chop, that we're live for the second time in Four for the Road history, and not that you didn't say anything wrong in that one, but we are getting our first round of practice in it live, minding our P's and Q's. And just for the audience's sake, we used to just record these things and we could talk about whatever and talk really freely, and then knowing that we would go back in and edit out the stuff that wasn't for public consumption later. So if you notice the cogs turning a little bit more than what you're used to, it's us actively censoring ourselves right now. But you did a good job, Chop. I appreciate it.
I apologize. I did not know that we are like full blown live. So
yeah, absolutely.
We dodged the bullet.
You did a good job, man.
So I can tell you about interacting. When it comes to, I'll just go back a little bit. When I was like 7-8 years old, I'm standing in my front yard, and I used to live on a very busy highway, and I saw these bikes come rolling down in a huge pack. This was probably 1973, and I just thought this was the coolest thing in the world. And I swear to God, I knew right then that one day I was going to ride in a pack like that. So every time, we're out, we see kids that, we're rolling down the highway, they wave to us from cars and that kind of stuff. Or we're in the parking lot, they come up to us. I make a special point to be friendly with the kids and to talk to them and make them smile, because you never know. One of those kids might one day grow up knowing that was the point whenever they knew they wanted to be in a club one day, even if they didn't know what a club was.
Yeah. I think everybody's kind of got that time, if you think back far enough, into like what really drew you to the club life. And sometimes I think in a lot of people's situations, ends up being something that's a little bit more like negative than what you're talking about, Drifter. Like when I hear you talk about that, it reminds me of this is not talking about a club. This is just the title of the book. What was it? Was it the Lone Mongol or something? Where he's describing in the book he's at a lake and he sees a guy kind of pull up on a patch, and that was like his first image of seeing somebody in a club that was on a bike, and just that lifestyle, and that drew him to it. I think there's also the other side of that where people see like the Ganglands episodes or the Sons of Anarchies and whatnot. And they kind of get into it for those reasons, and that doesn't always turn out poorly. I think for some of those people that get in, they see what the life's really like. They have good mentors that educate them on, what they're supposed to be doing, what the life's really about, and then they make that switch. For me, it was just having motorcycles involved in my life. The entire time I grew up, my dad's always ridden. He rides still to this day. So I've always been into motorcycles. The club thing for me happened just knowing I was like kind of coming out of my time in the military, and I just had some folks that I deployed with once or twice, and they were part of a club, and that's kind of how I got brought into it. Just hung out with them when they were at club events and whatnot, and kind of just slowly, gradually got pulled in. The participation and like how you participate in the community, I know Chop, you were talking about. There's so many different aspects to it. And I think I would put myself in the position of just being one of those everyday civilians right now. I might have experience to the contrary, but let's be real, none of that, is relevant, right? I'm just a guy on a motorcycle. But there's still ways you can participate. I think it's very important for people who are, still involved on like different levels to understand that we are all just people who at the very end of the day like love or are supposed to love being on a bike, right? I mentioned earlier that I think I'll find a little bit more enjoyment if I change up the riding style a little bit. So I'm kind of thinking about, especially now I just had a buddy over and we were talking about riding enduro bikes and stuff, and that kind of sounds really appealing to me. My lifestyle now, I'm not actively like even traveling places in the car. So it's like finding an excuse to get on a bike and ride somewhere is like, man, I would have to like actually make a trip out of that. I'm a little bit too busy to like take the kind of trips that I like to take on a motorcycle. But I think finding a way to make it just a little more like, what's the word? Just a little more fun, right? Like, and there's all sorts of different ways. Like there's like active enduro trips that you can take, or if you're not into that, there's like different meetups for, obviously the sport bike thing. There's a big stunt world out there. The motorcycle community is not exclusive to club membership, right? There's a bunch of different things that you can do out there to feel like you're involved in the community as a whole, without making the commitment of, going through the whole prospect and patching up.
I mean, when you look at clubs as a whole, man, and I literally just had this conversation with my sponsor the other day. If you put it all on paper as to the pros and cons to being in a club, I love this life. I love the MC culture and the history of the clubs that we have, both in our nation as well as other ones. But if you put the pros and the cons on a piece of paper, that cons list strongly outweighs the pros list. You know what I mean? Like you
don't do that.
you have to love it. You know what I mean? Like it's just you have to love it to do it. And it's something you can't really put into words. But you're 100% right when you say you can be a man on a motorcycle and be just as involved in the motorcycle culture without a patch on and love it just as much. You know what I mean? Be just as influential in it, gain as much from it as anybody else. And it's a whole lot easier to do it that way than it is to try and get into, the club life of it all. Because I don't care what.
I think club culture is a subset of biker culture.
Mm-hmm.
So you're absolutely right. If you want to be in your community as a biker, there are so many things you can do. Hell, organize an event, do a bike night. There's all kinds of things you could do. Charities, man, there's always a need for charities. You can do all those things and not be in a club. It's just if you are in a club, I think you could do a little bit more because you have an organization, an organized structure behind you.
Yeah, man, for sure. And yeah, we live in a day and age like where sometimes like the internet could be a very terrible thing, but it also opens up a lot of doors for us too, right? Like we have the ability to get onto these different groups, and Four for the Road being one of them, but like there's a ton of them out there, groups, pages, and whatnot, where you can find meetups, you can find people that are into the things that you're into. Like, what a time that if you really wanted to get involved in the motorcycle community, to just be able to find people that want to do the things that you're interested in doing, and just go out there and do it.
Yeah. So hey, Chop, let's see if we can get you in trouble with your sponsor. What's the worst thing about probating?
Yeah, you wanna hand me a shovel while you're at it? I mean, there's I don't
Okay,
really have a. I'll tell you the
let's
worst
flip
thing.
it. Okay.
I'll tell you the worst thing about it, right? Um, and if it gets me in trouble, it gets me in trouble. I'll eat that one. But
Oh, here we go.
I think it's I think this is something a lot of people face. You know what I mean? And that's, you don't know. It's I don't know how much I got to watch my language on this, so I'm gonna being live.
You
You
don't
know,
have to.
uh,
We're
it.
demonetized on YouTube, so cuss all you want.
Oh, cool. Well, fuck you too. You've fucking up and not knowing that you fucked up until after you fucked up. You know what I mean? Like and I know that's hard for a lot of people to understand, but when you're
Uh-huh.
probating on I guess probating on the level that I am, it changes the game a little bit. It's a whole lot different from the last time that I did this with my last organization, right? Um, and there's some things where it's like, damn, I fucked that up. I thought I was doing good. Shit. All right, well, let's try again tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like it's that's been a challenge, but the bigger challenge outside of that has been the juggle, right? Everybody wants to say like, oh, there's a balance between club life, family life, work life. The depending on what organization you talk to, most of them are going to say the same thing. It's your family, your job, then the club, right?
Mhm.
But that's nice to say, and we all want to believe that, and we want that to be the case. I mean, let's be real, that's not always the case. You know what I mean? There is a juggle there. Sometimes you have to give the club more than you're giving your family, and your job is your job. It is what it is, especially with my job. I don't really have a choice with it. Um, but finding that juggle, and sometimes it leans more towards the club. Sometimes it's like right now. I talked to my sponsor yesterday and told him like, man, I've been given more time to the club than I probably should have, but I haven't said anything. I've just done what I needed to do and rolled with it. But I told him like I'm gonna have to start trying to find that balance a little bit more, because I've got a long way to go before I, you know, potentially earn my patch. So I have to do better about that. And there'll be times in the future, even if I kind of lean back now and put more towards my family while still doing what I need to do with the club, there'll be times in the future where I have to roll it back the other way and kind of lean more into the club. And then it's just a big back and forth. And I don't care if you went to clown college and you're great at juggling, that's still a motherfucker to do. To know to time that right, and the inner struggle that comes with that without feeling guilty on one side or the other. And but I stood before him. I stood at the end of the table when I started this journey and told him like I'll never put this above my family. I won't do it. Um, and if that's not acceptable, then hey, I'll keep supporting. I'll keep coming out. I'll keep hanging around. It's just I can't move forward. And I've kind of reached the point where I feel like I'm at a crossroad now, even in my probating journey, to, you know, do better juggling, or I'm gonna end up putting the club ahead of my family in the long run. And that is something that I feel like I would regret in the end. So the juggle's been really hard, really hard. And then also just not knowing that I fucked up until after I fucked up. Like that's been hell. But it's
So
part of it, man.
I got a couple of things. I'm an old fart, so I like to prognosticate or whatever you say it. But so first of all, dude, you're in the big leagues now, and you know it. And so that's a whole different level that you're dealing with. You know it much better than I ever will. And the other thing is, when you don't know you fucked up, but then you fucked up, and then you find out you fucked up, that's a lot of fuck ups. You never forget that way, do you? Maybe that's why they do it that way. I don't know. But you are part of a great organization right now, and I wish you well on your journey.
Yeah, there's that's kind of what I've come to realize is like if you, because I mean I'm not coming in wet behind the ears, like I've got experience on, you know, I don't want to say a lower tier, but not the big leagues,
No,
right?
it
So
is. It is. It's a lower
um,
tier.
I've got experience there, so I didn't come in wet behind the ears. You know what I mean? I understood basic protocol, basic traditions, and I'm like you, I enjoy the history of it all. And so coming in with that, I felt like it was going to give me a little leg up in the journey because I wasn't coming in just completely green. Um, in all honesty, it kind of fucked me in my journey because like I thought that I was doing better than I was, and I'll be 100% honest with you. Most of my fuck ups have been basic shit that like when I realized like I did it, I'm like, oh, damn, like I know better. You know what I mean? Like I know better than that. It's and the other thing that makes it really hard, which I would highly advise to anybody out there, when you sponsor, also happens to be somebody that like I would consider one of my best friends before I started this journey. Uh, that makes shit comp that makes things weird. Like, I mean, I understand, he's got a job to do, but that
Yeah,
it changes the dynamic a little bit. Now,
he's wearing
granted, we're
two hats.
both yeah, well, we're both very good about being able to separate like personal and club, right? Like, okay, cool, you had to chat my ass for something. I'm not gonna hold it against you later. Like you're doing what you had to do. You know what I mean? Like with my job and the position I hold in my career, I have to do that. Where I might have to chap somebody's ass, and then 2 hours later, like we're cutting up, hanging out. I mean, you have to be able to have that separation. Otherwise, you just dwell on stuff, and it kills you in the long run. But he's been good to me. He's taught me a lot. He's chapped my ass plenty. But one thing I will say is he's never done it. And I think this is one thing I love about the nation that I'm, trying to earn my place in is I have never been talked down to, right? Because at the end of the day, like, yeah, I might not be a full patch, but motherfucker, I'm still a grown ass man. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna like, yo, if I messed up, cool, chap my ass. You know what I mean? Chew it, let me dwell on it for a day or two, whatever needs to be done. But we gonna talk to each other like grown men here. You know what I mean? And that's one thing I can give a lot of respect to is the fact that that's how it's always been handled. Um, but I will say, well, it's been a learning curve, and I got a long way to go. So I imagine that curve's just gonna get steeper. But hell, even if I, earn my place, I am sure that I will still fuck up, right? Like I'll be stunned if I go 2 years without getting center punched. If like, it's just I know me, right? I know how I have a problem. One of the guys in the chapter told me I just need to learn to shut the fuck up, and that's a challenge for me, right? But I'm learning a lot with it and taking it day by day, man. Day by day. It's a whole different ball game than what I'm used to. I'll tell you that.
Right
And one
on.
of the things that we were talking about a little bit earlier is how the inbox has always been open, and people have consistently for years come into the inbox with their problems, and we as a staff, I use that word loosely, will kind of go in there and give them advice from time to time. And I think we've always done a pretty good job without anything having to be said of like people responding to things that are within their wheelhouse, right? Like if somebody's coming into the chat or into the private messages and they're asking a question that is not at an individual's level to be giving advice to, they don't do it, right? So I was wondering for you, having spent so many years in like the public persona of Four for the Road, or the page we all wrote for before, and giving advice from a specific perspective, right? And then we always have our conversations within our own private chats of like different opinions on how things should be handled. We have disagreements from time to time on different topics and whatnot. Has it been like an eye opener to you? Like, have you ever thought back of like, I would have handled this completely differently in the previous organization or in another league than I'm supposed to handle it now?
100%, 100%. Because with my previous organization, it was a standalone nation, so you still had to kind of walk a fine line with how you handle certain things, because you got, other people clean across the country that may take heat for whatever you say, right? But now, now it's totally different, because the words carry more weight now, I guess,
Yeah.
because it's a step up, right? So, and like I'm just look, I ain't even full patch. Like I said, I got a long way to go for that. But even as a probate, the words carry more weight, right? It's just because you're operating on a different level. Um, so now there are times that I want to, and it's not just in the chats, it's in day-to-day conversations with people too, where like I want to respond one way, but I have to remember like, yo, my words, my words affect more than just me. You know what I mean? And in my last organization, I'd climbed ranks. When I left that organization, I was a national. So I thought my words carried weight then, where over here it's a totally different ball game, and you have to really. I thought that I understood the art of conversation navigation before, and I've come to realize now that I just had gotten my feet wet in it before. Right now, it is a true art form that I don't think a lot of people truly understand. And I think that's why I've been told I just need to learn when to shut the fuck up, because it's something I need to do better about. But there have been, to your question, there have been numerous times where I've looked back and been like, yeah, I would have handled it this way in my last organization, but I ain't handling it this way now, because it's a whole different ballgame. You know what I mean? Now with my last organization, I wasn't really big boys didn't really listen for what I had to say in the last organization, right? Like when you were talking at this level and you're talking to somebody on this level, yeah, they're listening, but it don't carry as much weight. When you're talking to somebody on the same level, now those words are heard different, you know what I mean? And they affect people differently, and the consequences of those words can be more than what they were previously. So it's definitely different than than it was before. But I'm
I
thankful
think
for my
that's
time in before.
I think that's a good lesson for some of the people that might be listening, right? Like we've seen it numerous times over the years where a new club starts up and it's people that have never been in the club world before, and they're starting this club, and they're either wanting it to be an outlaw club or they're wanting it to be a 1% club or whatever they're wanting it to be, and there's not that level of guidance or mentorship. And I think what you're saying proves that it takes years and years to develop the political acumen to be and then how you're saying like the how to interact in different conversations, what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, and then judging what the the consequences, good or bad, are going to come of it, and realizing who's affected by the different conversations I'm having, or just even a little interaction, like the way I look at somebody, walking into a room could say so much or affect so much. So for those out there that are new to this life and thinking about maybe starting a club, or you've already started a club and you're kind of just trying to do it your own way, take that from somebody who's done it in CHOP, that's gone from different levels of the club world, and is sitting in front of you here now saying, like, I've still got a lot to learn, having years and years in the game, and seen it from all sorts of different angles. Highly encourage people out there to find somebody you respect that can be a mentor to you, and be humble enough to learn instead of thinking that you know it all.
Yep, talking smack on one coast will jam up your brothers on the other coast for sure. There it is.
My bad. Damn kid running here talking about, I want to give daddy a hug. Like, see, that's what I got to do better about juggling right there. Right. Like that is just a reminder of it. Right. Now,
I think we
I do
use
want
the
to address, I want to
about
address the fact of, like, all these people starting clubs and whatnot. Right. We've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't care where you are, what state you're in, what county you're in, what city you're in, whatever you're looking to accomplish with a new club, I guarantee you there's one there that
Amen.
has the same mission statement, right? Look, I don't live in the biggest city in my state, right? I would say it's probably the top 5, but it's not the biggest city in the state. Well, yeah, I'd say top 5. Um, and there's so many organizations, it's ridiculous, right? It is ridiculous. Like, there's 2 Marine Corps clubs here, right? I don't know why there's 2 of them, but there's 2 of them. Like, what makes them so different, right? And I'm not trying to throw any shade on either one of those organizations. They're both respected organizations, but I'm just using it as an example. Is why are there 2 of you that are exactly the same? Like, your requirements are the same, your mission statement's the same. What is different, right? So there's no reason to start something new when there's already so much out there, right? And it's like, oh, we just want to do our own thing. Well, then don't put on a patch. Just go ride your motorcycle and hang out with your friends. I promise you, it's a whole lot easier to operate on a day-to-day function just doing that than it is to try and get into this world that has this whole separate subculture that you have to learn, that you have to navigate, that you have to roll with. If you just want to do your own thing, just do your own thing like you're doing it now. Just ride your motorcycle, right? It's like, oh, we want to be able to grow. Well, then make new fucking friends. I don't know. But you don't have to get into this life and water it down more than it already is. You know what I mean? Like, look at, like, there's too many 99s to name, right? There's more and more clubs that are trying to become outlaw clubs every year. And even on the diamonds level, there's more diamonds popping up, which to me is hard to wrap my head around, because, like, that is a whole nother conversation. But don't do it. Just don't do it. Right? Like, let's just break it down to that. Just don't do it. The clubs that have been around, that are established, right? They see you, more than likely they're like, if they don't laugh at you, they just scratch their head like, what the fuck, right? Because we know if you last 5 years, it'll be a miracle. It'll be a miracle. Most of them implode after 5 years. And that's shooting high. Most of them implode within 3 from what I've seen. There's no point. You're trying to do something. Why are you trying to fix what's not broken? Right? Is this world perfect? Absolutely not. Is any club perfect? No. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. No club's perfect. Every club has their problems. Every club has their issues. Just like no job that you're going to have is perfect. Nothing's perfect. But you ain't going to do no better than the 80 years of life that's already established? What makes you so different? You know what I mean? So I'm gonna come off my soapbox on that, but that shit, it gets under my skin when I see it. So I had to let my little rant out on that one. My bad.
No, you're good, man. I think the things that make clubs in general, like universally imperfect, is just the human element to it. You can't have a club without a group of men, and some may argue women, coming together and being in camaraderie with each other, right? So like, how do you control that? From a systematic level, you can only do so much, right? It's never going to be a foolproof system. The military's been doing it for our military for 250 years, and it's like you look at that and it's like, okay, we still get dickheads that come in here. You still got to get people out. Still not perfect. So like the club world is never going to get to a point where there is perfection. You're never going to add anything new. But a couple of things that you were talking about, Chop, that kind of led me to leave the club world is one is the balance, right? And I think one of the analogies we've used before on the page is like the three-legged stool thing, right? I know we all like to say, family, job, club in that order, but in reality, you kind of have to keep all of those things, level. Otherwise, it's going to start tipping in one direction or the other, right? And if it tips too far, you're going to fall off. So that for me was a big thing. And then also the starting a club in an area, like, does an area need a new club? And for me, I moved other side of the country, and where I'm living now is kind of like looking at it, and it's like, well, I would have to start a new chapter out here. Do I have the time to invest in that, to do it a second time? And the answer for me was no. Like, my job was getting more and more demanding. My family needed me around a lot more. Wasn't going to give the club enough time to be able to be like a good member in the club, and I wasn't able to do that. So for me, it was better to just say, respectfully, I think my journey with this organization is over. That's not to say that everything was perfect in the organization, but like you said, nothing ever is. But that wasn't the thing that drove me away. I don't want anybody to ever think that I left because like I hated it so much there, And then the other piece was, does this area that I'm in need another club? Could it support another club? And it's like, just looking around, riding around, seeing all the different people and stuff. It's like, nah, it doesn't need it, nor could it really support it, right? And you got to think, like, some of these areas, look at the population density, how many people are actually on motorcycles, how many clubs are already in existence. Like, are you now going to be scalping people from other organizations or scraping the bottom of the barrel, or are there enough active riders that are out there to even sustain? So it's like, it doesn't even just come down to starting new clubs, right? Like, that's not always the issue. Sometimes it's like, does this area need a new chapter of this existing club, or is that location going to diminish what the organization needs? And for me, that's what the situation I was in. But it's a difficult road. I highly respect anybody that's able to do it and do it well, because I've been through it, and it is a difficult process, and it's a difficult thing to manage.
So new clubs, the problem is they don't have a foundation. So all clubs are going to go through cycles where they have issues, trying times, or whatever. And the only thing that's going to get a club through that trying time is a good solid foundations. It's good solid bylaws, good solid traditions on how to handle problems and issues. You get that one asshole in the chapter, and how do you deal with that kind of stuff. New clubs don't have that foundation, so they just can't weather. As soon as they hit a hard time, they fold up. So that's why don't try to start something new. And like Chop said, no matter what you're looking for, I promise you it's out there. It's right around the corner. Just go get it.
Well, I mean, even if it's not like, even if it's not in your city, right, or your county, right? If you want to start a club, hopefully you enjoy riding your motorcycle, right? Go ride your fucking motorcycle. Ride a couple counties over, right? Like, before I linked up, I've known the organization that I'm, in the process of earning my way through now. I've known of them for years, right? Well over a decade. Been around them. well over a decade. It was between this organization and one other one, right? The other organization is not in my city. Their closest chapter is an hour away, over an hour away, right? And I, wanted to talk to them because it wasn't quite on this level. You know what I mean? It was, still very well respected organization, but not on this level. And it didn't work out, and that's fine. But I'll tell you right now, my clubhouse is an hour from my house, right? I make the trip all the time. It not because I'm probating. I mean, I was making the trip before that, right? We do this because we enjoy riding our motorcycles. So if
There
the
you go.
excuse is, well, they're not in my town, all right, cool, you know, ride over, talk to them in the town over, right? Or 2 counties over, whatever it may be. If it's going to kill you to ride your motorcycle for an hour to get to an organization that lines up with what you believe in, then you don't want this bad enough. Okay, just keep riding your motorcycle and keep doing what you're doing. There's nothing wrong with that. And like you said, if can the area support it, right? If you're in a town that's got, I'm going to use simple numbers to make shit easy, 100 people on motorcycles, and there's already 2 clubs. Well, let's be real here. Those 100 people, all of them don't want to join a club. Some of them just want to be men on motorcycles. They just want to do their thing and ride, right? Got to respect it. I'm cool with it. 2 clubs is probably plenty for that 100 people if we're being real, right? So you got to think about, like you said, the size of the town you're in. How many people are actually riding? Like clearly, like states like Florida, California, Texas, where guys are riding all year round. There's more motorcycles on the road. There's going to be more clubs, right? But if the population doesn't support it, or not just the population, the culture, you know, not every state, not every city has a strong motorcycle club culture. There's some cities that just have a motorcycle culture, but there's not a lot of clubs, and you can't really be mad at it. It's just the way it is there. You have to respect it. Like there's a fine line as to how many, especially how many big boys can be in one town. You start getting big boys on every corner. I mean, look at how history played that out, right? I mean, it's just becomes block to block riding, and that's just not sustainable. You know what I mean? And this life is already, you know, the life's already in, for lack of a better word, threat of extinction just because how many young guys do you see joining clubs, right? Like, I mean, it is what it is. Not a lot of young guys want to get into this life. They just want to ride their motorcycle and do what they want to do. And if you just want to ride your motorcycle and do whatever the fuck you want to do, I'll tell you right now, club life ain't for you. Because we talk about we want to be free, and there is a freedom that comes with it, but there's a lot of rules that come with it too. It's man, I wish there was just like a book we could hand somebody and be like, here, read this. It'll let you know whether or not you want to do this, and it'll teach you everything you need to know. But then that takes the fun out of it of actually riding your motorcycle, fucking up, getting your ass chewed, learning from it, and building off of it. It's a it's hard to explain. Y'all get it because y'all are in it, but to the average Joe out there that's never participated in it or never put their feet in it, they won't. It's just some shit you can't explain. You know what I mean?
I can give you a book on brain surgery, but I sure wouldn't want you to operate on me after reading that book. It takes a little bit more.
Yeah, it's something you gotta learn. You gotta do it. You gotta learn it. And there's no school for this. You know what I mean? It's not like the school is the streets. And I say that, and that sounds like it's like a gang mentality, and that's not what I mean. I mean like the miles you put down. You know what I mean? The rides, the all that. I mean, it's memories are made on the road. You know what I mean? That's where education's gathered on at the gas station, the gas stops. You know what I mean? We used to call it my last organization. We called it gas stop or gas station university is what we
Mhm.
called it because you'd stop and that's where you end up gaining a ton of knowledge. We just made I say a big run. I mean, we did 1,000 miles last weekend running down to an event. Um, left out Friday morning, was home Sunday morning. And I learned a lot on that event. I learned, a lot about the men that I rode with. I learned a lot about the nation as a whole. Um,
You
fucked up a lot.
learn how good your seat is.
Yeah, it was good until about 4 hours from home. About 4 hours from home, I was over it. Like I was over it, but I was also too tired to really even be worried about my ass hurting. I was just trying to focus and not run into the man next to me because we was tired. We was tired, but that's a memory that, I'll cherish for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Whether I do 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years in this organization, that's a memory I'll never let go of because it was a great time. I learned a lot and I had a blast. Got home and realized that I fucked up plenty, but what else is new? That's kind of the story of my journey at this point. So it is what it is. It is what it is.
Well, guys, we are right at an hour. Probably keep them to an hour. You guys want anything to say in closing real quick? We'll start with you, Drifter.
Yeah, so the people listening heard some difficulties involved in MC life, but I will tell you 100% that it is, for me anyway, it is 100% worth it, and I wouldn't give it up. This is my life, and this is exactly what I want to do.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know that I probably sounded pretty negative about the whole lifestyle. I just don't. I love it, right? I mean, I love it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this juggling act, trying to keep it afloat, and putting the level of commitment that I am to it. It's something that, on paper, doesn't look pretty, right? On paper, it looks like a bad idea, but it's something you can't explain. It's a drive and a hunger that you never really let go of. You know what I mean? Especially even the guys that were once in clubs when they left, if they were really in it, that passion doesn't just completely die. A little piece of you misses it sometimes. You know what I mean? And it can't go away. But yeah, I know I sounded negative, but it really is a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing. It's just not something you can really explain. You got to live. But in closing, man, just be a man, ride your motorcycle, pay your dues. You know, it's that simple.
No, the club life really is a beautiful thing, and it's something that I wouldn't trade the experience for anything. Right, the good, the bad, the ugly. Um, I would do it all over again if I could. But I would also say if it's not something that if it's something that you could live without, then don't do it. Right? It requires a level of commitment, not just like a hobby, right? So if it's the right if you're the right person for it and it's the right thing for you, definitely dive in. You'll get a hell of a ride out of it. But yeah, I just want to thank everybody for joining us. Thank you guys for making the time to get on here. We are going to do this again same time next week. So we'll be on Sunday, 5 o'clock Eastern. What is that? 3 Pacific? What 2 Pacific? Oh, whatever the fuck it is. Figure it out. I don't know. 5 Eastern. Yeah. But yeah, thanks again, everybody. And we're glad to be back. Looking forward to seeing y'all next week.
Bye.